Okay, we are 6:01. We'll call the regular meeting of the Town of Washington Planning Board to order. We do have a quorum. With that, stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Since this is recorded, I will get my brownie points in now. I'd like to thank Susan Meany, who recently retired from this role. Thank her for her years of service to the town and the planning board. And with that, is that you or me?
That was me. Sorry. Oh.
Perfect. The minutes from the last meeting have been circulated. Has everybody seen those?
Yes.
Yes.
Any changes, corrections, or discussions?
No.
Motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
And a second?
Second. That'd be me and you two.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. First item on the agenda for tonight is the Oak Summit culvert replacement. Dan from Colliers Engineering is applying on behalf of the town of Washington. Thank you, Dan. We had a public hearing scheduled for December. Bad weather was postponed until tonight. So with that, I would like to ask Dan to do a brief summary, since this is will be a public hearing. If we could do a quick summary of the project for the people that are in attendance.
Do you have to procedurally open it or no?
I don't think we want to open the public hearing yet.
You could do either way. The one benefit of opening it for the comments is the comments become part of the record of the public hearing.
Okay, what's your recommendation?
You can open it
Open
now.
it. Motion to open the public hearing,
So moved.
and second.
Second.
I don't want Louis.
Who's gonna do it? You can just Eric and Emily. It's fine.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing is open. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Hope everybody had a good holiday season, and Happy New Year to everyone here. I'm going to go through the same summary that I went through in, I believe, November. I'll be brief about this, but for the benefit of the public, I just want to make sure we have the full summary of the project. So this is the Oak Summit Road Culvert Replacement Project. The goal of this project is to fully replace the existing structure that is at the intersection of Oak Summit Road and Canby Road. We have a couple boards here off to our side if anybody would care to kind of see what graphically we're going to be proposed on the project. The new structure is going to be a precast concrete structure with a 75-year or better lifespan. This project has been around and been studied since 2015 by other consultants. In 2022, 2023, CED, my company, was brought in to take a look at applying for a Bridge New York grant to gain money to do the replacement of this structure. The grant application was submitted and the town was awarded $1.5 million in Bridge New York funding to pay for the entire construction of the new culvert and all soft costs that go along with the design. DOT is the agency that administers this program. And to be clear, New York State DOT is the agency. And they set a 24-month window for the design of this structure starting on May 1st of 2024, meaning that by May 1st of 2026, the project has to go to bid. So we're in the final stages of the design for this. And this project, again, is 100% state funds. No federal funds are involved. Current status in 2024 and 2025, Colliers performed a survey of the property shown on our maps, geotechnical explorations to determine how deep it is to bedrock at these locations. We've done some basic right-of-way work, the preliminary engineering, and we've held a public information meeting on, I believe it was April 9th of this year, or excuse me, of this past year in 2025. During this entire process, we have had multiple reviews at the New York State DOT for all of the data that we've put together and all of the maps we've put together, and we're now at the point where we're ready to submit for permits. One of the permits is the wetland permit through the town and the planning board's approval for that permit. I do want to state that in addition to this, we had to go to New York State DEC and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. That application was actually submitted today. We would expect responses and potentially obtaining those permits from those agencies in the next 2 months. The next part of our process is to go through, obtain the town's wetland permit, finalize our drawings, likely in February timeframe, and prepare the project to go out to bid in March and April, and then have the bid opening by the 1st of May. Construction of the project will be, hopefully, if everything goes according to plan and we get bids within budget, it would be over the summertime. To construct this project, the road does have to be closed. A detour will be established going on Canby Road, which is also Dutchess County Route 90, out to New York State 82, and back up to the northern entrance onto Oak Summit Road so that traffic can get around. We will be mandating that the contractor cannot begin that detour until after the school season so that the bus routes are not disrupted. And a project like this, with the type of structure that we are specifying, a summer time frame, 6 to 8 weeks, they should be able to construct this and have the road back open. So the detour at most may be 6 to 8 weeks. With that, any questions?
And to be clear, so that everybody understands that we are applying for a wetlands permit here tonight. That's the purpose of this public hearing, not to discuss the project,
Correct.
or not. The town board has approved the project. We're here for the wetlands permit.
Correct.
Any discussion from questions, comments?
Did we hear anything back from Unionville or any of the other?
No response from Unionville.
Yeah.
And all of the Steve Marino's questions were all answered, and
There's nothing outstanding from the town's wetland consultant. That's,
No, we have not been made aware, I don't know. Yeah.
okay.
okay. Good. Thank you, Dan. Is there anybody that would like to make a public comment on this?
Yes, sir.
Come on up.
I'm Tim Marshall. I live on, we have an operating dairy farm on Canby Road, and I live on Oak Summit Road, which is north of the bridge, and not having the bridge in service would be a great inconvenience to me. So I just wonder what my options are. So I go across it every day with equipment and field equipment and personal car, truck, and the detour that you're suggesting is not very practical at all.
Do you have any thoughts? Are there any?
Not for that length of time. 6 to 8 weeks
Is there a way for you to put from your other driveway and cut around there to come in the north side of the barn or something? I mean, again, the project is a town board project.
yes.
They've already approved that this project is going to go forward.
Yes, I understand that. Like you say, it's been in the process for 10 years.
Yeah,
I've seen many surveys done there.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Duplicates, I'm sure. And
Maybe Dan, maybe you can just address if there were any alternatives to, and again, today we're here for the wetlands.
Yeah, to be caught, I mean, like, I need to come out.
Yeah, just, if maybe you can even though today we're just here for the wetlands permit, we can address Mr. Marshall's
Yes, as part of this project, we had to consider various alternatives. One of the other alternatives that was considered is to build a new bridge on the side of the existing bridge so that the old bridge would stay open, the new bridge would be built, and then when the new bridge was ready, you'd flip-flop, allowing traffic to go through. That came with more cost. There were other things that were considered, and when the town board went through their process of selecting which of those alternatives they wanted to go with, this was the alternative that was selected.
Thanks.
So just so I can understand the issue, is it intraday moving of equipment, or is it access to and from the property? There's other access to and from the property?
Yes, we can access from north of Oak Summit around to the west side of this project to the other farm. But it's all fields and pastures and.
So this is to move equipment back
Yeah,
and forth?
well, even personal cars or trucks, we have to, which on a real nice dry year, it might work, but
Mhm.
if it runs a rainy spell, it'll get pretty sloppy and so,
So you can't get directly onto Route 82 from your property? You have to cross some
Yeah.
other folks'
Well-
lands?
well, Canby Road takes us to 82.
Canby Road does.
It's literally right on the corner of Canby and Oak Summit.
Not mine, I'm just looking, remember where it is.
Do you have any thoughts? Are there any things that you can think about that would make it easier for you to do your daily moving about?
Well, I had heard the idea of putting in another bridge and keep the one in service. But obviously that's not in the plan right now.
That is currently not in the plan.
That's what we said.
Is there any way to like maybe pre-position?
Yeah.
It's a 6-day-week period, which it sounds like was coordinated around the best buildings time and also around the school schedule to not be disruptive to the extra traffic created by the coming and going
Well,
through
there are a lot of
school.
school buses on that
Yeah.
Old Summit Road.
Is there anything like during those 6 to 8 weeks that you know that you could pre-position as far as equipment, like ahead of time?
Well,
or-
if it's 6 to 8 weeks, we do our hay cutting and
Yeah.
storage, and
It's a busy
a lot of the
time.
land that's on the south side of the bridge, and the storage facility for the hay is on the north side.
One thing to mention, we have to give a 6 to 8 week window, not knowing who the contractor is. There are some contractors that can move quicker than that, but we can't anticipate that, not knowing who's going to construct it and what their means and methods would be. So it's reasonable to give a 6 to 8 week. It is very possible that a contractor could go in here, and if they have everything bought and ready to be shipped and on site, they could tear this thing down and put a new one in within 2 weeks and pave on the 3rd week. So, but we will not know that until the contractor is selected.
Will that time frame be specified in the bidding process? Does it play into
We have to
the
give
selection?
we have to give the main time, the 6 to 8 weeks. If we try to corner a contractor into 3 to 4 weeks, usually what happens is because not all contractors may be able to do that.
I
Their
mean,
costs will go up.
is the town obliged to accept the lowest bid? Or if somebody comes in with say, a slightly higher bid, but a,
Yeah, lowest-
4-week time frame for
Lowest reasonable bid that meets all of the parameters, because this is going to go through a state system, so we have to follow those rules.
Is this a metal culvert that's going in, or is it?
Concrete.
Concrete. Are they precast or
They're
pre?
precast, they're modular pieces, so you basically put them all together. They come on a truck, you swing them over with a crane.
Right.
Structure like this, if they have all the pieces ready, they may be able to, after the concrete foundations are poured and cured, they may be able to put the entire structure together in a day and then put the wing walls the second day.
What is the span that they're bridging?
25 feet.
It's big, so it's just from here to the end of the room.
Is there any way, once this is out for bid and you have the contractor secured and you have an idea better of what their capabilities might be, that you could just send a letter to the very close neighbors right there that are going to be the most, especially
Put Joe on the
Part,
spot.
yeah, part of the award process, the contractor has to give us a schedule, and then we talk about all of that, and then part of the process as well is all of the neighbors that would be in the area will have contact with that contractor, but that is a process that happens after the bid.
And how many neighbors are there who would be directly affected?
How many neighbors are right there, or how many neighbors along Oak Summit Road that would be affected?
The area of disturbance for the entire.
I think Mr. Marshall's gonna be the only farm that's gonna be really,
Farm, yeah.
Well, the
Residential
Residential
residents.
shouldn't be too much of a,
the Dixon property is right there, but they have an access through their property to get onto, an additional driveway that they can get onto Canby Road.
Do you abut their property? Could you access their, right there?
Well, there was a time when Mrs. Dixon lived in the house, the owner of the property lived in the house, and I leased the property. But that's changed now. I don't know if I have access like and I still would require going through a hayfield, and when the weather turns wet and muddy, the hayfield turns into mud, you know, once you make multiple trips.
Are there- Sorry.
go ahead.
Are there temporary bridge structures that could be, you know, is it possible to do a temporary structure for his use?
Temporary structures exist, but they're costly, and it wasn't programmed within.
So you
what
can't
we
just
were
put down two by four?
I'm not driving over that, and I wouldn't recommend anybody else either, but.
Especially with a heavy hayway.
Yes, but a Bailey Bridge system, which is the temporary systems, they're expensive.
Unfortunately, we don't have an answer for you here, and that's probably more of a question for the town board or, rather than us,
Right. I hadn't,
as far as the detour part of it.
because I've had discussions with the people when they've been there, and they're well aware of
Yep.
I'm there, and
Yep.
I do travel regularly, and so,
I did talk to Tyler before when I was on the board, and we were discussing this a year ago, and he was like, get it fixed before it falls in. So,
I don't know if that bridge will ever fall in, but
Oh.
it's been in the works for 10 years, so I guess you gotta get it done.
yes, sir.
especially when there's state money available for it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
Sorry, we can't help you.
Well, I'm sure the board is aware of it, maybe it wasn't brought up, maybe I wasn't paying attention when they had their meetings, so.
There were 2 or 3 of them last year
Okay.
on the project itself before it was approved.
Okay.
Hopefully they'll get it done quickly,
Yeah.
and maybe it'll be dry, and,
Hopefully.
or, you know,
Yeah.
you can
Well,
work something out with the Dixons. But
July
thank-
and August.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry, I wish we had more to do.
Yes, sir.
I'm Obie Benz. I've been on Oak Summit for 30 years. I know all these people here, are friends. One thing, just a suggestion to facilitate when you hire the contractor, there's a question of staging, where the staging would be, how close it is, how quick they'll be able to get the stuff done, the organization of how it goes in. So obviously, I think everyone here has goodwill and would intend to suggest in the hiring that that is a direct issue of where someone should address before you hire them. Just a comment.
Yep,
Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah, that's a good comment.
Anyone else?
Clark Bullock, and 36 years. Anyhow, on Oak Summit Road, why is this happening? I don't understand that, and I'm sure you all do. So I thought maybe it'd be helpful to know why this is imminent. There are multiple water crossings that might be other candidates for the future, if not now. What's the issue with this particular culvert?
Dan, you want to?
So there is not an official bridge, like a New York bridge inspection, but when we conducted our inspection, if you take a look underneath, there's significant deterioration of the arches that are underneath the structure. Not to be too technical, what we call abutments, that's the 2 concrete structures that are holding up the bridge itself. Along those structures, there are multiple vertical cracks, and on one side, the vertical crack is so much that I don't know the exact size, but it's definitely inches where the wall has peeled away from the main structure. It is at the end of its life, and it's probably beyond its useful life. Various repairs that have been done there. And I know that the town, at one point, I think, tried to limit it to a one-way road just to keep the loading off of it, reduce the amount of loading. So it's at the time. Most bridges that are of this type, this is a jack arch bridge, is the type that's called. Many of them, when they were constructed in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, they no longer exist, and they have all been replaced by now, or they are being replaced now.
So, short
My
answer,
guess is ours is going to be next.
short answer is it's broken, it needs to be
Because we're the
fixed.
corner.
Yeah, there are several candidates here. There's a, as we know, it's a wetland. It's a water course, and there are at least, what, four crossings under the road.
So this one was deemed to be one of the worst ones.
Yeah, as I said, ours is probably next.
Yeah,
So- Yeah,
make sure we're on a cruise, we don't have fun.
yeah. Any other comments? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm Mike Perini, I live on Oak Summit Road as well, so, yeah, thank you for.
Just
Come on, Mike.
so Mike catches.
That way your voice will end up on the, well,
Yeah.
this way you'll end up on the
Actually,
record.
thank you guys. You know, a lot of you people work for almost nothing or volunteer, so thank you. The Town of Washington's done such a great job for Oak Summit Road over the years, especially the Highway Department. I happen to be a commuter, and you know, I drive all the roads. And this man right here has got the cleanest roads.
No, I'm not the highway supervisor.
Oh, no. So he's not around? Okay.
He'll be here Thursday night.
Okay, I'll thank him then. But anyway, I did, I guess back when we all got notifications a few years ago from the engineer, you know, we all sent our thoughts in, and let's face it, it's very hard to get one of these grants, especially for a town like ours. So that was a home run, to say the least. Another thing is that I did put together something and sent it to, I guess, Susan on the board.
Yeah, she's the
Former
big
chair.
chairman.
Oh, okay. And as well as the supervisor for the roads, and Daniel Farman?
Farman, yes.
Oh, okay. Were you able to review the information that I sent you in regards to a water quality structure?
I am not sure, but I see.
Okay,
just
sure.
see that the heading of the.
When was that sent?
December 1st.
Just now, 2025?
Yes. So there was an initial one in the 2023, you know, that
That
the
was
residents
the
and
board.
us, you know, we chit-chat on the road, and we put together some information on, you know, trying to get the money for the grant, and obviously you guys incorporated that into the grant, and that worked out well. Then after the grant, we shot a letter out to the highway superintendent saying that, hey, you know, there might be, now he's remembering.
Yes, I do recall.
Right.
That this had come up, yes.
That, yeah, there might be, and it was informal, that, you know, obviously there's a grant out there, and like you said, we got a $1.5 million grant, and town doesn't get many grants, so if there's a possibility of doing an ad alternate for like a water quality structure or something that would further benefit the town, the reason being is that we finally got some money from the state, and I think it should be spent in the town instead of giving back.
So,
Could we
correct me if
summarize
I'm
this?
wrong, Joe, Dan. To keep this money, this has to go to bid very shortly.
Yeah.
So their plan is not gonna change, because they don't have any time.
Oh, agreed.
Um,
Yeah, that's why I used the word ad alternate. Right, an ad alternate, maybe you want to explain it to them?
Ad alternate is you put out your base bid, and then you put out some options for a contractor to consider if there is funding. So if your base bid is replace the structure and your ad alternate is a covering for the bridge, then what you see is the contractor would put a price to what it would cost to cover the bridge, or something else to the nature of what his proposal is for water quality.
Okay,
And-
now
And what that does is it allows the town to decide whether or not they have the funding for that extra, and then they can authorize it if they don't have.
that's gonna be a question/comment to get on the agenda for the town board's meeting on Thursday night. That's gonna be a decision that they're gonna make, not one that we can make here with the
Right,
planning board.
that's why I'm talking about the water quality structure, because this is for the wetlands, right? So in
Well,
order to
what we're
protect-
doing tonight is the public hearing for the wetlands permit. How it's built and what they do is gonna be a town
Well,
board.
this is integral to that, and that's why, you know, I have the backup here, and, you know, I don't want to, obviously want to be respectful of everyone's time, but, you know, I'm quoting the, I guess it's really right in here, the New York Road Salt Reduction Act that was signed into law. I mean, I think that has to do with wetlands, right? Right, so, okay, I just want to make sure I'm on topic. So, yeah, so what's happened is that it started up north, and it's becoming more and more integral to DOT that you have to protect water courses from salt. And we've all seen certain salt restriction areas, yada, yada, yada. And one of the things that have come up, and people have gotten creative with it, is a water quality structure that happens to look like a covered bridge. So I don't know if you remember that. So numerous towns are doing this. So for example, here's one right down in East Fishkill that has one. So this is 100% independent of the bridge itself. So that's why an ad alternate works.
How does a covered bridge protect the water quality?
Oh, because obviously when you go across the bridge, the town doesn't have to salt it because it's protected. So
You mean the
roadway
truck's going to turn
protected.
its salter off when it goes under the bridge?
They do that all the time. That's what a salt reduction zone is.
Okay, I understand.
So, yeah,
they-
so it would become
they
a
re- They
salt
would be
reduction.
required to turn the salter off as they passed under the bridge?
Yes.
Yes, okay, I'm just understanding.
Okay. That's becoming more and more norm. So it's the same old story.
So
What's
the
new
bridge,
today
the
is-
bridge itself doesn't reduce the salt or some mechanism, it's just a requirement that
Well,
the
it's
town
yes.
salter would have, or the
Well,
town
it's a
highway
yes and a no.
department
It's-
would not spread salt under that bridge.
It's a ripple effect. In other words, right now, you have to salt it for
Yeah.
safety.
Yes.
Then,
No, I
because
got
of
it,
the
I get
bridge,
it.
you don't salt it. So it's a direct.
So if it's covered, it doesn't need to be salted?
It's 100% correlation, right. And also, that's less salt into the water course. And as we know, that little spot in the Oak Summit Road there, there's, in fact, Tim said it best, there's a lot of, and, oh, so did you, there's a lot of little bridges. So what's happening is, there's a very small salt, very small Sprout Creek that's getting a high dose of salt. Normally, okay, one little bridge out in the woods, we all know, not an issue. But we have two county roads there that are actually right there, right next to it, as well as the one on Oak Summit Road. So now you got three dosing effects.
This
on
is Sprout
points.
Creek?
Yes.
This is Sprout Creek?
Yeah. On
Yeah,
one
we
little
lost,
bit.
we lost an ash tree that been there for 40 years.
I remember, right, yep.
Sure.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
So,
But
same
you said
idea.
it was
The thing
something-
is we did, some of the neighbors, we chit-chatted, we did put together some information. We brought it timely to the board, it has to do with water course. So, I'm sorry you guys didn't review it before the meeting, but it's there.
Okay, thank you.
Wait, Mr. Perini, can we just make sure that the planning board actually has a copy? I don't think we
Yeah,
have
I
a
haven't
copy
seen
of
that.
this.
Okay.
So
Planning board at Washington. This is a hard copy.
yeah, I mean, that email doesn't go to everyone, so I don't know exactly
I'm
what
3
happened.
days in this seat, so.
So
I mean, come on.
I surely didn't get it.
It's just,
Is this a
we all
co-
know each other in the room.
Is this a
so-
copy we can have? Would you?
Sure.
Do you mind giving it to our planning board
Yes.
secretary? Who can
And I will
put it into
tomorrow
their.
scan it and email it.
Thank
to
you.
everyone.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank
And
you.
again, actually, it's us thanking you. I mean, I know that you guys spend a lot of time, and, I only come here, once every few years to, see what's going on in the town, but you guys are here, every month or however often it is, and we do appreciate it. And like I said, I do think the town of Washington, especially the highway department, does a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I apologize, my
Great job,
voice is
especially
is a bit hoarse.
the super-
Anybody else have any?
I was just
Comments on that?
follow up. I apologize, my voice is a bit hoarse, so it's hard to talk. I was just going to ask, is there with the $1.5 million state funding or the grant that we have received, I guess, is there a projected surplus, or is that number fairly accurate as to the scope of the project? That is to say, if the board were to investigate the possibility of some kind of additional structure, whatever that would be.
The town board.
The town board, yes. Town board. Is that a possibility?
The grant was taken a look at using probably, I'd have to look back, whether it was 2023 or 2024 dollars, and construction prices. By the time we get to construction, there's a little bit of inflation there. We did our best to try to project what the cost would be. All I'm going to say is when the town works on a project that is solely their money and there's no state regulation involved, prices are lower. When the state regulations or federal regulations are involved, the prices are higher. The 1.5 is probably, it's probably going to be all used up just to construct this. There is, there was within the grant, whether or not the town would be able to give a little bit more. I think that number goes up about another 100,000 if there was an overage, if the bids came in a little bit higher. But you're basically at the max. So if a bidder were to come in well under what we had anticipated, there could be, I would expect, given other bridges that have been built in Dutchess County, we're probably right at it.
And then what he was talking about would be brought to the meeting on Thursday to be addressed as a possibility?
I'll defer to the
I
town.
think we
at
need
that
to-
parti- yeah.
We can forward that on and let Joe take that.
Sure. We
With-
can bring it up.
Yep.
Would the bridge impede the movement of your equipment?
Pardon?
Would the bridge impede the movement of your equipment?
I'm sorry, I don't understand it.
Would
You're
it cover
suggesting
bridge-
building a bridge, a cover over this bridge. Would your,
I'm assuming it would have to be
Right.
standard 13, 14 feet.
Great.
Right, yeah.
and you, okay.
Yeah, they do, so they use the standard sizes, the tractor trailers they build.
Thank you.
13 feet.
Any other comments?
I was just curious, you say the town board meeting on Thursday,
Yeah.
Thursday.
so would it be my advantage to just be there and address my...
As far as I know, currently, this project is not on the agenda, but if you contact the town clerk tomorrow and tell her that you'd like to come and address the board, they could probably still add you.
And I guess instead of the statement, I have a question. I didn't look up the DOT number, but is it zinc or excuse me, galvanized, or are we going with weather and steel?
There's no steel, this is
Concrete.
This is concrete.
No, I understand that for the guardrail.
For the guardrail, it would be the normal box beam, so that's going to be, I'm pretty sure that's galvanized. I would have to double check to make sure, but
Okay.
it's state standard. So anywhere else that you see normal box beam guide rail on other, Canby Road has some, it's that exact same.
Right, I understand all the box beam. I'm talking about whether, it's the galvanized, because many times in rural areas, they use the weathering steel. And the weathering steel obviously has, it weathers, but those, in fact, and I'm sorry, so I'm not yelling from the back, but one of the issues about weathering steel is that, it's made of iron, so it's ferrous and carbon, so steel. But the zinc adds, I should say the galvanizing adds zinc. So now all of a sudden you have a heavy metal that's not indigenous to the area. So as we know, there's metals all over the world, but in our area, steel and iron is relatively, I don't want to use common, but like the old Dover furnaces, they used to actually mine ore here and make steel way back when. Very minor amount, but they did. So it's in the waters. What's not in our waters right now is zinc, right? Zinc comes from, well, I think it's out western Pennsylvania, but don't quote me on that. The point being is that if there's going to be, eventually, over time, heavy metals going into the water, it makes more sense for weathering steel, which is indigenous to our area, than introducing the galvanized zinc. But I do understand 100% what this gentleman's saying. Mr. DOT says, well, zinc lasts longer, so we're gonna put zinc. But since this is a water course meeting, as you guys properly pointed out, I would like it if you guys could considering using weathering steel in lieu of galvanized, with the consideration that, we're at the headwaters of the Sprout Creek. Everybody loves it. I mean, it's the water starts right on their land. And it's very, very, I don't want to get too much into it, but it is a very sensitive area because it is the headwaters. And, it's where everything starts and where all the trout come up and breed and go back down the stream. So I appreciate if you could just give that a thought. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments? Motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor, of closing the public hearing? I'm sorry, I missed
Aye.
this step.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous.
Aye.
Any discussion on the wetlands permit as it stands with a resolution that's been circulated amongst everybody?
Are there any specific considerations regarding the wetlands permit that haven't been discussed here?
I think every consideration has been, all of the,
In the
all of
reports
the
we've read,
wetlands
yeah.
expert, Steve Marino's, all of his concerns have been addressed. DEC, New York State DOT, AKRFs, everybody's concerns have been.
Okay.
We received comments from the CAC that were considered by the wetlands consultant as well.
Okay, great.
I noticed that AKRF is not present this evening. Is there?
They are not.
Yeah, but is there a reason for that?
We had a discussion about whether or not we could handle this without him, since it was the only item on the agenda.
Oh, okay, that's fine. So, for budget reasons.
Timing, I think he wanted a night off as well.
Oh, well, that's fine.
And he's already looked at this so much.
Yeah.
Since everything was
No,
already,
I saw his memo. I saw that.
Yeah.
we've
Great
beat
call.
this horse.
Yeah.
And AKRF has commented and
No, I
edited
saw
the
it.
draft
Yeah.
resolution. And, yeah.
That's good
And-
practice.
And AKRF's comments were changed into the draft resolution. We've changed it for all that. So if everybody's okay with this, do we have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Sorry, I gotta keep my notes right. I'm sorry.
I said all those in favor?
Yeah, if I don't write this,
Eric
Yeah,
Emily.
right.
yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Unanimous?
I think so.
I think
Thank
Lisa's
you.
getting it too.
Huh? I hope so. I'm just making sure. That concludes our public hearing.
And thank you, everyone, for
Thank you
those
very much.
thoughtful comments.
Yeah.
I don't think
Unfortunately, not at all for this meeting.
Are we done?
No, we have another meeting.
You're going?
Wait, do we have?
Got staying for the rest?
No, because I am your conflict counsel, so I'm only
Yeah.
here for the one matter.
What
Yep.
films did he make?
You'll be back to your regularly scheduled hands. But it was a pleasure to see you all again.
You too.
Thank you.
Happy
Thank
holidays.
you.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank you.
Okay, let's
Okay,
move on to our.
yeah, let's move. So,
Okay.
You want the gavel? No, you want me to get the gavel?
Okay, let's continue.
the next item on the agenda tonight was the CAC discussion regarding creating an environmental protection zone.
Should I sit here?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Please.
I'm Pam Scott. I think most of you know me. I'm a CAC member. Margaret Schneibel wanted to be here tonight, but she is traveling, so she was unable to make it. We're here to get your early feedback on ideas for an environmental protection district, which I'll also call an EP district, and update you on our progress following the Planning Board's early support of the project. So the project advances the goals of the town's comprehensive plan and the town's natural resources inventory, also known as the NRI. As you know, a theme of the comprehensive plan is to protect natural resources for the benefit of all town residents and to maintain the town's rural character. So the comprehensive plan has a direct recommendation to the town to create an EP district. And so the project advances that. It also advances the natural resources inventory. The town put a lot of time and effort into that in 2024. But the NRI documents a wide variety of natural resources, but doesn't prioritize them. And one purpose of the EP district would be to do that, to prioritize them. So what is an EP district? It is in our zoning code already, section 165-26, and it's a geographic area of the town with special environmental characteristics which are of significant value to the public. So that can include water courses, steep slopes, vegetation, view sheds, trail or migration corridors, as well as historic or cultural resources. So as a process matter, the code provides that the CAC can recommend the creation of EP districts to the town board, and the board would in turn adopt the EP district as an amendment to the town zoning code. So as part of the process specified in the code, the CAC must prepare and submit a development guidelines report to the town board, which would describe the district, the justification for the district, and any guidelines for development in the district, such as references to the types of development that might be discouraged or encouraged in the district. So, and this is where the planning board comes in. If the EP district is adopted by the town board, site plan approval from the planning board would be required for any building in the EP district unless the building's exempt. There's a list of exemptions in the code. Expansions of existing buildings of up to 50% and accessory structures are exempt. But site plan approval would have to include information on compatibility of the proposed construction with the development guidelines report. The other thing that's important is subdivisions. When a property is proposed for subdivision in the EP district, alternative development proposals such as cluster subdivision must be considered by the planning board, and the planning board would have to make a finding that the subdivision is compatible with the development guidelines report. So what has the CAC done so far? As you know, we've applied twice for grants from New York State agencies to retain a consultant to help in this process. The CAC doesn't have mapping expertise or expertise in writing the kind of report required by the zoning code. We also wanted some benchmarking information about what other similar towns have done. So we applied for grants, and we received one from the Hudson River Valley Greenway, which is funded by New York State. The grant's a matching grant, and the town board agreed to contribute a little over $5,000 to the effort. We engaged in a competitive bidding process, and CC Environment and Planning in Batavia, New York, was awarded the work. We've had a kickoff meeting. We've gotten going with the preliminary research on benchmarking information. But as far as timing goes, we expect maps and draft development guidelines report in the first half of the year with a completion of the project by year end. So that's where we are now. Since this would involve the planning board significantly if the town decides to go forward with this, we wanted to get your thoughts early on as to areas that you think might be studied closely for inclusion in the district. And if you don't have any thoughts now, certainly, we're in the earliest stages, which is why I'm coming to you now. Feel free to reach out and talk. Ask questions.
Well, I was on the NRI committee, so I'm a little familiar with areas of the town may be environmentally sensitive.
Right.
And certainly, as we saw in the hospitality overlay, the area just north of Mabbittsville that leads and funnels into the town water supply is critical to environmental protection. Not just because of the habitat or the environmental aspects, but because of the contamination and the way that water travels in that area is important. So remember when we looked at Migdal, that area up there, although it was above that the way the water flowed down through, or possibly flowed down through the bedrock down to that water supply would have been critical. So I think that whole area there should be looked at and being protected a little bit further than what we have now.
This may be an obvious question, but I'm assuming that the district doesn't have to be contiguous, right? There can be different areas that you identify and they're just part of the district.
That's right, and there can be multiple districts. For example, one might be focused on water, another might be focused on biodiversity. So,
and is the percentage of land in the town that might be classified under these districts capped? Like say, could we only add up to 20% total land area?
In theory, there is no cap, but as a practical matter, I think the purpose of this is to prioritize, so we wouldn't want to do too much at this time.
Would it impact the zoning in any particular area? So what might be 5-acre zoning could be going up or down? How would that impact zoning?
So there is a provision in the code that automatically moves to RR10 any property within the district, so that if something is currently Zone 5, it would automatically go up to 10, unless there's a provision that's adopted when the EP district is adopted that say keeps it at 5. That's sort of the baseline, but as part of the process, the town could modify that.
And it seems, sorry, go ahead. It seems that, based on your description, the categories that might be applicable to be included under this protection are rather varied. I mean, it includes wildlife, it includes view sheds, it includes all kinds of water resources. So, for instance, we've discussed in the past the idea of amending the scenic roads legislation, whereby the town planning board would have influence over development and subdivision along those
Designated scenic
roads, right? So in a way, this could be related, because, as you said, it includes cultural resources as well as environmental. So perhaps we could, I don't think we ever kind of pursued that discussion, but we could certainly tie these two together in a way.
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No.
So just to continue that, what are your thoughts in terms of areas that are already identified for development or areas that we know may be considered for development?
So what we've heard consistently at the CAC is that water sources should be protected. So that seems to be the most common theme. Beyond that, that's where other people may have different priorities. Some may want to protect view sheds, some may want to protect wildlife corridors. That's where we hear a number of things. I'm not sure if that addresses your question.
Let me come back to it in a minute.
And what about Hitchcock?
Well, that does address. I don't know that I want to discuss a specific thing, but
so any large development might go through the planning board anyway. What this does is that it takes projects that might not otherwise hit the planning board's radar and requires them to go through a process.
Very good. Yeah.
Could you explain that?
So that for example,
Well, give us an example.
so Migdale, let's use Migdale. Any proposal for development there would have had to go through the planning board for reasons that had nothing to do with the EP district, given the size and scope of it. So one approach that we might take to the EP district would be to think about areas and types of projects that might not otherwise hit the planning board approval, such as even building a house in an area that has got implications for the town's water supply.
Yeah. So in theory, you could have a 5-acre lot you wouldn't need to have a site plan, but if it's designated in the EP district, then they would need to come and get site plans. So it's providing, I guess, a layer of protection where you otherwise wouldn't need one. And so when you're considering the areas, you might think about things that are important but wouldn't otherwise come before the board. It's kind of a...
Just because of where they're located, like near a wetland. But those would
Wetlands,
normally
water
come to us
courses.
anyway, if it's within some, but you're
For a
saying would
wetlands
be
application.
a wider approach instead of anything that's within 200 feet of the buffer would come to us for a wetlands permit anyway. But, so I'm just wondering, would it be just that, how would that flag more properties that instead of just the building inspector signing off on it, that it would then be flagged to come to the planning board instead?
So there are already a lot of protections for water, and one thing that the project might do is consolidate them. For example, there is an AQ district, the Aquifer Protection District. So it's possible that when we get through everything, water might be a priority, but it might be consolidating our existing maps. It also might strengthen the protections that are available to wetlands, because we do see, building in the wetlands with planning board approval, and it may be that this is another layer of protection over and above what's there, even for the wetlands.
This may be getting too granular or sort of, but is there a way so that, because whenever I think about this, I think that the more restrictions we have, the more onerous it is to build, the more expensive it becomes to build here. And I think one of the things that makes the community so nice is the variety of dwellings.
Right.
So is there a way that areas could be designated, sort of have an EP designation, and other areas in which more densely, we could build more densely?
So at the CAC we talked about that, and I think that might be a consequence of designating an EP district. That if you designate this part of town an EP district, inevitably denser development might find its way to other parts of town.
What if we did a big view from above, and I don't know if you can do this, this may be beyond our purview, but when you identify the areas that are environmentally sensitive and you want to, let's just use Migdale and say we don't want to build there because of all these considerations with water, and then you look at other areas where you could do more dense housing. I'm thinking about Bennett College, which is the ship has sailed there, but that would be an area that's adjacent to high density housing anyway. Is there a way to do that where we can do a big picture view of the town as a whole, and earmark areas where we can do more infilling and other areas where we want to keep it more open and rural?
So that might be part of the development guidelines report, and I think that's something that we can think about adding, because that would that might be a helpful thing.
Because I think if we're looking to protect land, I am 100% for that, and we need to think about affordable housing and dense housing and allowing places for people to really live, and adding to the village area and
Yes,
stuff like
adding
that.
to
I
the
think would be
village.
really-
And we can also reference the cluster development concept that's in our zoning code that hasn't gotten enough attention, but that is one tool that already exists to drive development to a particular area and keep other areas open.
And development with a possible green belt around it too, so sort of like an English village kind of thing where you have, if we can infill around the town, I think that would be so beneficial to the whole area.
So, is this grant, and I'm just trying to wrap my head, is your project strictly aimed towards where the EP district would be, or could be, or is it more towards a whole overhaul of the zoning code?
It is not a overhaul of the zoning code.
Because we're going in like 6 different
Yeah.
directions
So I
here,
feel
and we
like
need
it's-
to like.
But is
But I
it,
think we can't discuss one without the other.
So-
You know what I
Well-
mean?
So
For
there,
an offset. You're saying if we're restricting development in one
Yeah.
area because it's environmentally sensitive, there needs to be an offset of
Absolutely. You
increasing the density in other areas.
You can't, you
Which-
can't do one without the other. You can't earmark all this land without considering who else needs to be here, wants to be here, should be here.
You also have to remember, I mean, and this is way out of our purview, it goes towards when the town board is gonna start thinking about this thing, but who owns that land? And how long they pay taxes on it, and what are their rights as landowner rights?
Absolutely.
And just because your view goes across that might not be a reason for that to be in an EP district.
Yeah.
But the rest of it, environmental reasons, I'm all about finding the right
Well,
way
and-
to do this. But
and to your point, there's nothing in the EP district that prohibits development, so that it's.
It's just adding
has to
oversight.
come
It just has to come
We'll
to
make
us.
it more expensive
Yeah.
for anybody that wants to develop in that area. That's the
Right.
truth of it. It
more-
will
Right.
make it more
That's
expensive
expensive.
because there'll be more studies, there'll be more
Yes.
meetings,
Yes.
there'll be more lawyers, there'll
Yes.
be more
More consultants.
consultants. What you're proposing, just so we're talking reality here, is if we put this in place, it will cost people who want to be homeowners, it will cost them a lot more to become a homeowner or
Yes.
in that area.
in that area.
That's just the truth of what
Yeah.
we're looking at here.
So
I'm
you
torn, 'cause
also
on
will.
one hand, I like the idea of these areas. I think it makes all the sense in the world. On the other hand, I hate layers of more layers of cost.
And as of January 1st, New York State just put the kaboom on anybody who wants to build a home as a private citizen in New York State. There's so many more requirements. It will cost you between $10,000 and $80,000 more to build your house because of these
all the regulations.
things that have to be now put into your home. So I just think that there needs to be balanced. And also, this is not really our job to look at rezoning the area. And I think that's also a concern is, yes, we're on board for the environmental stuff, but then that's not all we're talking about, because as soon as that comes up, then there are very logical discussions that follow that. Is if we're restricting development in one area, should we have an offset in some other area? And then you blow open wide the discussion of rezoning our entire community. I just don't think you can have this discussion without these discussions also happening.
I'd like to bring up another aspect of environmental overlay, and specifically regarding cluster zoning. If you look at the way we cluster zone now, say in 10-acre zoning, it may be a 10-to-1 ratio where the lots would be 1 acre per every 10 acres of developable land. So you may have, in the case of the Hitchcock Estate, 2,500 acres, the possibility of 250 lots, if it was cluster zoned, at 1 acre a piece. If they could fit all of that in within all the wetlands and everything like that. But I think that cluster zoning is a benefit to developers, and not so much to the intent of the environmental overlay. It allows them to build infrastructure for 250 homes, right? That are a lot less costly than it would be to build infrastructure for each home individually. So they build one road or two roads. They build a public water or a septic, public waste treatment or treatment plant. They build a water supply system, and that takes care of all the 250 homes rather than do it on an individual basis. So it's economically feasible for them to cluster zone. And if you want to restrict development in an environmental area, eliminate cluster zoning.
So,
And then that takes care of it.
I mean, a lot of big ideas, all really important. I guess what I wanted to say, which now seems almost frivolous, is I would be interested in protecting scenic roads, because I think that's a place where you have a lot of homes already, and you might want some oversight, because I think that's, in the comprehensive plan, you want to maintain the rural character of the area.
That's
So, those are largely developed, but you might just not want somebody putting a huge house that takes up every square inch of the lot up on a scenic road. So it's less about restricting development and more about maintaining the character.
Yeah.
So that's an area where I guess I would be interested in. I think Adam alluded to that before, where, we have some influence under the code, but it doesn't really have a lot of teeth. And that's one I would care about.
And this
Okay.
would be a clear mechanism to accomplish that.
And it would also not reopen the whole zoning code, because that was not the intent of this project at all.
Like Emily said, there is some language in there providing some protections for scenic roads and some other specifically designated areas, but it doesn't have a lot of teeth. And so, but this would be separate. This wouldn't be like going in and giving teeth to the code that's already there. This would be a separate, not an overlay, but it would be.
It is a type of overlay.
It's a type of
It would have
overlay.
the effect that I guess we would
We would
want
give-
from the amendment, which is, we're not saying, no, we just want to have oversight as to what goes there. And I think that would be the mechanism for achieving it, is it would be automatically, because it's in the district, you have to give us a site plan.
Yeah.
Which I think was kind of what we were getting at for that one specific issue, view sheds, scenic roads.
How large do you think this overlay would be? How many acres or what percentage of the land in the town of Washington?
We were not thinking,
asked that at the beginning.
yeah,
Yeah. So we just-
we don't have
We don't have an idea.
an idea, but.
I think you'd have to overlay the whole town.
But the intent was to be small.
I didn't mean that.
The-
How do you decide where it's going?
So the NRI really is the place for starting a lot of the analysis.
So what percentage of the town was included in the NRI?
The whole thing?
Well,
The whole town.
The whole town is
Yeah.
considered, but
There are 19 maps,
there are 19
and they're all
maps.
environmentally sensitive.
There are,
So-
there's specific,
We only have
You're
one,
still in fact
we only have one
finding. You're
Earth,
still
right?
fact
The
finding.
entire Earth is environmentally
No, I'm not.
sensitive.
I'm not, I'm
Can I-
only, oh, okay, let me withdraw
I think what you're
that.
saying is that you're
My
just doing
exaggeration,
fact
I don't
finding.
mean
we're
it that way.
we're doing fact-finding, but we did not envision that the entire town would be in the EP district. That wasn't, but we were thinking that there are some, although the entire town was looked at for the NRI, there are some clear areas that are called out in the NRI as deserving of protection. One of them is water sources. There's already a lot of protection around water. This would simply kind of beef that up
So could you just explain, beef it up?
by ensuring that all properties in the watershed are subject to some level of review.
Existing properties.
Yes.
And what would that review be?
Planning board,
Well,
site
new
approval.
cons-
Approval?
No, I said existing properties.
Yeah, but I think she
Oh,
misspoke. New work.
so existing land, but you're
Okay,
right.
but not
new-
existing properties.
Well, existing properties, if there's an addition that's greater, that increases it by more than 50%.
Okay, but not an existing property, would not have to upgrade its
No,
septic, would not have
no,
to redig
no.
its well, okay.
Exactly.
Or if somebody tears down an existing structure and rebuilds on the same
Right.
footprint, as is
Yeah,
happening.
but I'm sorry, I interrupted you, you were,
No, I think that was.
So, I guess and Pam, maybe this is what you're getting at. For example, where I live, which is pretty developed, it's sort of 5 acre zoning on my side, I think it's a little bigger on the other side, is one of those areas in the NRI where, I cannot remember the word, but there's no layers. So, if you had,
Settlement or?
it's just that if, let's say you were going to pollute that area, it would immediately go into the
groundwater.
groundwater, because there's not as many layers.
The permeability.
The permeability, thank you.
It's a key issue. Because
So-
that's what I was trying to get to that when I brought up cluster zoning. So say you had 1 acre lots defined. Now, in a lot of areas in the town, the permeability requires 5 acres. So you can't cluster zone there. But we never considered it when we considered cluster zoning. The permeability affects the lot size. That's it's in the zone,
I
it's
wanna
in
hear
the
the rest
zoning,
of what
and it's in the
everyone
NRI.
Yeah, so I suppose, for example, where I live, there's a 53 acre lot behind me, which is, would be right for development. It's on 44, and that's an area where, in theory, it looks like it's good for development for all the reasons that we're talking about, but it's extremely environmentally sensitive. So that's the kind of area where you might want additional oversight. I mean, you already have, the wetlands protections, but there's plenty of land that's outside of the buffer, and you look at the slope, you would want
Right.
that to be protected, and that's not really restricting development, it's just increasing oversight
Right.
for sensitive areas that are already pretty developed.
So what do you see as the process for selecting, deciding on the
So-
areas, and how do you see the general public involved in that?
So that is why we've hired a consultant to advise on how to prioritize and the process for public engagement. But there obviously will need to be some public engagement. A lot will depend on the size of the proposal.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy, right.
That decision should be made by the town board,
Yeah,
ultimately.
Ultimately, it's
I
the
think a
town
lot of
board.
it's how you present it, because to me, it's less of a big, the automatic rezoning to 10 acres,
Where you
I have questions about, but I think it's an interesting concept, because it's a lot of the things we've talked about where it's just flagging the building for us where we might not otherwise have it.
Yeah. Well, we look forward to hearing about your progress. We wish you luck. Sounds
This
onerous.
is impressive.
Yeah, it is.
Really
It is very
interesting.
interesting.
Yeah.
And I mean,
And the reason for doing this is, I know the CAC has always been the thing that they've weighed in the most with, at least the planning board, has been anything related to water and wetland permit,
Mhm.
wetlands and roads, is because you think the town code could be better, or you're wanting to strengthen up the New York State, because the New York State stuff affects us, and like the clustering, the things we always have to consider, because it's a checklist from New York State for subdivisions, and
Yeah.
there's already quite a bit there. So, but what, I'm just wondering, is it because you got the grant, or what is kind of driving this?
It was the comprehensive plan.
The comprehensive plan,
It was the comprehensive plan that specifically called out the use of the EP district to implement the NRI. So it seemed to be relatively straightforward.
We had to do the NRI first,
To-
so that was
Right,
completed
that's
last
done.
year.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this seemed to be an implementation of the NRI
Making it applicable to
to actually using it.
using.
The NRI has no teeth.
Right,
It's-
okay, I see.
It just
it's-
exists as
just
a
information.
document.
It's just information, and this
Yeah.
implements the information.
Right.
And, you know, as we think about scenic roads, if the, I mean, that's important, but if the NRI didn't emphasize scenic roads, that's going to get a little bit, it doesn't. And so that's something that I think, that's why it's important to get your input early, because if we were looking exclusively at the NRI, I'm not sure that we would have focused on scenic roads.
One of the things that happened here last year that seems relevant to this now was a proposal to break up a 120 or 100 acre farm, the Arch River Farm.
Yes.
They came before us, and the scenic road was involved, the view shed was involved, and we referenced the comprehensive plan, stating that it was sort of not what the people of the town wanted to have happen out there.
Mm-hmm.
And the end result was a compromise in which there was an agreement that they could have 5 lots,
Mm-hmm.
but no further subdivision ever. And all the construction was assigned to very, very carefully defined building envelopes.
It was a
So-
great result.
Right, and all of that happened within the existing regulations. So, just data point.
So I'd like,
Was a-
my personal opinion, I'd
it'd be
like us to be
easier
able
to
to
get
do
where we
more of
need to
that.
go, 'cause it
That have the
Yes.
teeth or the
Yeah.
tools
point.
to be
It
able
would
to
have cut
have
them
some
on
strength
out.
in
Yeah, I
our
guess
decisions.
that's
In other words,
Yeah.
it wouldn't appear that we're being arbitrary or subjective about it, that we would have some criteria, you know, when judging these
That makes
things.
sense.
That's what Emily was just saying. These guys were saying that because the Archwell Farm it would be less about what the board thinks and more about what the.
Right, there's a lot of subjective thought in that, and this
Yeah.
possibly would make that more clear cut.
Yeah.
And it
Because
would
the
that
amount
would
of
have been-
consulting, the time that
God.
that
It
took.
would have taken a lot.
That took
$100,000.
Yeah, and the
That's the
applicant
only-
spent
Yeah.
$100,000.
I know. So
And
this,
they were on board with it, like they were.
They didn't have any choice.
But
Well, that's the
but
thing,
They could have
sometimes-
been contentious and they weren't, do you know what I mean? And I felt like it was a pretty civilized process.
Well, that's when legislation works, right? So that's,
Yeah.
I think that's the idea, is that we had this project, and what it brought to the table is that there are certain things that are mentioned in the comprehensive plan or identified in the code, but we don't really have an enforcement mechanism. We don't really have,
Yeah.
an actual code provision requiring oversight. And so I think, for me, sitting on the planning board, having something like that in the EP district would have really made that process easier. And I think we would have gotten to the same result, but probably in under a year.
Is there any reason for the whole of the town not to be in the EP district? I mean, is
Are there other municipalities where
Yeah, because I think then you'd
the
have
EP
like,
district covers essentially the entire?
every
No,
2 acre
the-
lot would
the
require site plan
conser-
approval.
The conservation
20
overlays
applications.
tend to be targeted to specific wildlife corridors,
Okay.
or
Wildlife and
specific.
waterways.
Can those areas remain
Certain
altered
places
to
where
add
it would be
to
reviewed.
subtract from in
Probably-
time as necessary?
To protect
Probably through an amendment to the zoning code. So it would,
too
it's,
big.
I
it
can only
would,
kind of see it moving in one direction, not in reverse, but.
Right.
The reason I mentioned that the whole town may be included, which is frivolous, I understand. It's hard to determine where those are gonna be. And obviously, you're gonna have a consultant, but
Do you
I
know what
think it's
I
gonna
mean?
be very hard to
Because
determine
that's-
that.
you wanna
And
catch-
particularly if you
you
have
wanna
public
just, like, belt and
hearings,
suspenders.
people are gonna really be engaged about
We've had
that
problems
because
like
if it
this with
affects
the
their
old chair.
property and their development rights, they're gonna be pretty serious about it.
Especially as
The
Doug
owners
said.
of Hitchcock Estate, matter of fact, may voice a strong opinion against anything that stops them from selling that property.
Yeah,
I don't think that we would, should, or could target specific,
no,
you know,
no.
property. So I think it's more just, you know, concepts and areas.
You're not suggesting that.
No, nobody's suggesting that. And
And that's why looking at the NRI maps it's someplace that's objective to start with. Or the scenic road designation, if something's
Yeah.
already been designated as a scenic road, that's someplace that is out there already.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
There's only like
Working with an
13 of them,
existing
I think.
designation,
Yeah.
or
That's-
from existing designation, seems
that's-
perfectly reasonable and logical.
That was all, so that really is against the idea of designating the whole town.
Yeah.
Right.
We could look at the whole town, but that's not happening.
I think we would need a whole new staff for the planning board
When you
applications.
present this, we're just a small group, I'm sure that there'll be a lot of questions.
Oh,
A
boy.
lot of uproar, a lot of pushback, but I think once the dust settles, people will see it's a really smart way to add a layer of,
Well, again, this is gonna go from a recommendation from the CAC to the town board, and then the town board is gonna have to decide if they
If they want to
Well,
go
like the
forward.
hospitality
Yeah,
overlay
and if the town board decides against it, then that's what happens.
Yeah.
Doesn't the town board have to come up with a new comprehensive plan pretty soon? Aren't they legally bound to do this within a certain period of time?
I don't know.
I don't think that there's a statute that says that they have to. I believe that they should.
I thought there was, not a statute, but
A
a
New York town law,
recommendation that
something.
every 15 years or so, they should look at renewing this.
I mean, there's a avenue for them to do an adjustment. I mean, they don't have to redo the entire
No, adjustments, amendments.
But again, that's a pretty large project for undertaking.
This is really interesting, though.
Yeah.
And it's
super
Yeah.
interesting.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Pam.
thanks for all the work on this.
Oh,
Yeah, no
well,
kidding.
we're just getting started, and we'll.
We always look
keep you
forward to
informed.
reading your
Yeah.
CAC memos.
What was the name of the consulting firm?
So it's CC Environment and Planning.
And you said they were in Batavia?
Mm-hmm.
I grew up right outside of Batavia.
Oh,
so
there you go. It's far
Force me with
away.
you.
It's, I'm glad-
308 miles,
I'm glad they're
Where
interested
is
in
it?
working with us. They're very
halfway
good.
between Rochester and
That's great.
Buffalo.
What's on the agenda next?
I don't know, I have to go put the case.
Town of Clinton Lead Agency Coordination Request.
Yeah, and I think that everybody has seen the
Yes.
emails regarding this, that we're gonna, there'll be an interested party, and we have no
Yeah.
objection to the town of Clinton being the lead agency.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. I think
That's on the entire project.
That's on the entire project that is in the town of Clinton.
Right, not our.
Not,
Got it.
once the planning board last month?
2 months ago.
2 months ago, voted that was two separate projects, then that kind of,
And that issue hasn't come up again? What
I'm sorry?
that word is, that, big issue?
Hold on. No, it hasn't come up, and I'll tell
Okay,
you what the word is in a minute. Segmentation.
Oh.
It's not a part of this discussion?
No.
Okay,
No,
no, this is
we
just-
voted on it.
good. I know.
Yep.
Under the threat of this terrible thing.
Fees discussion. I think we're all set on that. We're lowering the pre-application to 100. Town board is gonna do that at the reorg on Thursday night.
That's great.
After they do that, we'll change it on the website. Anyone have anything else that should come?
Welcome, Doug.
Yeah, Great
Thanks
job.
for taking the chair.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad to be here. thank you for.
Good job on your first.
Great job.
chairman
Yeah, good
job.
job.
Great job.
Okay, let's, if nobody has anything else, can we get a motion to close the meeting?
So moved.
Okay. And
Seconded.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right.
Turn those off.